Good morning, dear teachers. Today I am going to tell you about the assessment. The first thing when we say about the assessment, what comes to our mind is whether the assessment is for good or bad. The second question which comes is, after assessment, what we have to do? Why assessment should be done? When we have to do the assessment, and why we have to do the assessment, why can't we do only the learning activity and go ahead? The assessment is for understanding of the students' learning abilities and to identify the ability of the child, what he learns. It may be in the impartial manner. And what are the standardization for assessment? What challenges we face? All these things I am going to explain in this video. In today's scenario, due to this COVID, the first question arises for the teacher is how to assess the students through online. And for whom is this assessment done? Is it for the student or for the teachers? The assessment is always done for both. I tell you, if there are students who are not scoring well, then we have to rethink about our explanation or how we are teaching the children, how we have to go about to make the understanding level high in the students. For this, there are variety of assessments which I am going to deal in this video. Today, I have taken the assessment of languages. An assessment should be the test for the 3 domains. The 3 tools are, it has to be on the knowledge and understanding and how the students are applying. So an assessment tool need not be only pen and paper test. Though it is widely used, we can also make it very interesting by giving them projects, by making them to speak, interaction. Through all those things also we can have the assessment. But the various tools for the assessment can be telling the students to make mind map, giving them quiz. This is the easiest thing in today's scenario. You can go into the quiz form and you can send it where the correction will not be there. The children will know the result immediately. Then oral, we can ask them some questions. They can record and send it to you. They can make posters, they can do PPTs, and even the group discussions, seminars, reports, all those things can be done. For example, I'll tell you, if you give a test in the languages, in grammar, how you can give? You can say, give the MCQs for them. See how they will answer. Teaching language is not teaching only the lesson. It is how they are learning to speak, how they learn to write, all those things comes in the language. And these assessment tools can be used as both formal assessment tools to check the progress of the learner and summative assessment tools to gauge the outcome of the learners. For example, I'll tell you, when you do a lesson in English, you are not only doing them a lesson, but you are teaching them the language. The language here, when we talk about English, it is not the mother tongue of our students. It has to be taught as a skill also. There, the students have to understand how to speak, how to write, and they should know how to use the language. So, language, when you are teaching, it is always said that you have to use LSRW skill, that is listening, speaking, reading, and the last one is writing. Most of the teachers emphasize on writing, which is a last skill. First, the students have to listen. Earlier in CBSE, we had a CCE pattern for the language where they have to listen and where they have to answer. Because this was not implemented properly, CBSE has to take it out, and they came back into the age-old system of writing the examination. Listening is the very first step to learn the language. During the listening, the child listen how to pronounce, how to use the intonation, how to speak. All those things will be heard first. Then test the speaking skill for the comprehension. It can be used for communication. It is also used for pronunciation and how to intonate when you are speaking, which letter has to be stressed, which word has to be stressed. All those things the child learns, and then the accuracy. All these things can be practiced or can be assessed by giving debates, role plays, and also narrations. For the smaller children, the child can look at the picture and they can speak. For the reading skill, decoding. Decoding means whatever they have heard, they have to decode it. The speed, the fluency, and then the vocabulary, reasoning of the comprehension will be easier when they learn to speak. They have to undergo, when they are reading, when it comes for the comprehension, it becomes skimming and scanning method also can be taught to the children to make it easy for them to understand. In the same way, you can test their creativity. Some people argue that in today's world, the writing is not of much use because of the computers. Everything is written in the computer, everything is done in the computer, so writing skill cannot be developed. No, writing skill has to be there. Creative writing has to be encouraged so that the children will develop the creativity in their writing. As I said earlier, picture comprehension for the smaller children. You can give picture and tell them to speak, or show some picture and tell them to say some story about it, or story expansion, writing small stories with gaps so that they have to fill it up. That can also be called as story completion. Then vocabulary cluster, All those things can be judged or assessed in the language skill, which improves the language of the children. Then comes the grammar skill. In the grammar skill, what all you can give is gap filling, closing the passage, and then transformation of sentences, error detection, grammar games. In the grammar games or grammar MCQs, I'll tell you, for example, I came to school in time. The child may be confused. Another child will say that I came to school on time. You should tell them the difference between in time and on time. In time is before the bell rings. If the child has come to school before the bell rings, then it is called as in time. If the child says, I have come to school on time, means exactly when the bell rings. In time is before the bell rings. On time is exactly on that time only. So parts of speech can be taught to the students. Debate can be organized. Objective types, short answer types, and descriptive types. Objective types is to see whether they have got the knowledge or not. Short answer type is the application. Whatever knowledge they have got, they are going to apply that knowledge. Then comes the descriptive type. This is what we call as HOTS or high order thinking. They'll have the knowledge and they have to apply it, and then they have to come into conclusion. That type of things come in this descriptive type of questions. Now, there are few subjects like science, math, social science. How we have to give or assess in these subjects. For example, if we take science, you can tell them to do the concept mapping, flow chart, experimentation, projects, investigations, journal writing, drawings. All those things can be done in the science subject. When it comes to maths, computating skills, MCQs, true or false, recall and reasoning, match the following, mental maths, all these things we can add in our assessment so that we can see how the students have learnt whenever we have teaching to them. Social science, again, mind mapping is very important in social science, and then maps are very important. Flowchart is important, and also here the child has to compare the dates between the today's circumstances and the previous, what had happened. And debates are very good assessing process in social science. Again, for all these subjects, we have this objective type, short answer type, and descriptive types. You have to make the children to understand the concept points wise, and they have to understand in the chronological order when it comes to social science. First this has this year, then this, then born, life, death, about the great personalities. It has to go point wise, and there are 3 types of assessment where all are not the same type of questions you will get in each type of assessment. Some are very long, which has to be explanatory. Some has to be very point wise. So when we take a classroom, we find different types of students in the classroom. So how to understand these children? First, what you have to do is you have to give all the types of questions in the question paper to understand, because some are very good at explanation, so they write all long answers. Some are very good to the point, so they'll see what to write. They may be very good in the point wise questions. That is why the question paper has to consist of 3 parts. That is 40 for the knowledge, 40 for the application, and 20 for the descriptives or HOTS. So what you have to do is, you after each lesson, when you give a test, it has to be standardized first to understand the capacity of the child. You have to understand, once the students, if they have understood and scoring about 50%, that means what you have taught is correct. And if majority of the students are not doing well, then we have to do introspective about ourselves. That means what we have taught is not been reached to the students. If it has not reached, then we have to think about where we have gone wrong and what has to be corrected. This assessment holds good even for the teachers also. It is, in the beginning itself, I said the assessment is for both, to understand whether the students have understood and also to understand what we are teaching is being understood by the students or not. And when it comes to the students, all the students are not to the same capacity. What we have to do is, we have to bifurcate the students according to their capability, and we have to teach them. We have to understand these are not reaching to the point. So, okay, fine, we will help them. If we push in this point, this child will move ahead. Those things we have to understand being a teacher, and this assessment will help us to bring the child from one level to the other level. So in this video, I'll complete by telling all these things. In my next, I'll be explaining what all strategies you have to follow. Thank you.